Hello, hello. Welcome to Revelator Alf and a happy new year. This is Revelator Alf live. Well, it's me live on a radio podcast thingy. And we're talking motorcycles, of course, and we're talking what's in the news and what's coming up for 2023. But I suppose today I just want to start by offering my condolences to the family of Ken Block, who tragically lost his life. I put out a very quick video earlier on today. The news came in, reached here in the UK this morning, and obviously, as you go throughout wherever time frame you are, you're probably just waking up to this right now, or you've pretty much woken up to right now. Unfortunately, just in a snowmobile accident, unfortunately out with some friends, and I think by all accounts he went up a really steep incline and it flipped and landed on him. I wanted to make the video and I wanted to start this live stream live show as just to say thanks to him, because I came across him many years ago, quite randomly, as these things are. I've always been a huge rally fan. And then I started, watching more the kind of drifting and the more kind of freestyle element to it as well. So when I then I got into watching his videos and all the stuff, the drifting, the gymkhana stuff, and then the hoonigan stuff, and everything like that. And I always thought just what an amazing talent he was. But it was more than just talent. It was entertainment. And it was possibly one of the first times that I'd seen a racing car driver of any kind of description, or motorcycle rider, that transitioned into the entertainment field and made it entertaining, especially on YouTube. So, from that point of view, it's just, I've spent hours watching his stuff and his videos and lots of the stuff, and his family are involved in it as well. But all I can say is just, it's a sad day, I think, especially when, you lose talent at such a very, relatively young age. So my heart goes out to the family and friends, of course. I don't know him personally, of course, myself, but I just thought I'd start the show off with that. So a huge loss for the motorsport world. Obviously, he was involved in motorcycles, but I suppose most notably known for rally car driving or gymkhana and that kind of stuff. But anyway, listen, let's just get into the show, shall we? So today's show is all about it's about a few things, but mostly about this mob. Okay, so over the last sort of few weeks, I've been putting out some videos of, what bits of information that I've been getting from Harley Davidson and everything like that. And, the new bikes, new colors, new engines, possible options, that kind of thing. And the story is different all around the world. So again, it really depends where you are and what will come your way, essentially. But today, especially today, is quite a big day. We know January the 18th is going to be the big day, the big reveal. Okay. And it's going to be for all the new bikes of 2023. But what we've got now today is that Harley Davidson have released the carryover bikes for 2023. So let's just get into that and see exactly what they are. Okay, so if I just make this a full screen here, you'll see that here is Harley Davidson. Now, they in the sport range, interestingly, they've only given us the Sportster S. No news of the Nightster or the Nightster S. So that's possibly something to look out for. 4 colors available on this one: vivid black, white sand pearl, grey haze, and bright billiard blue. In the cruiser, and that was starting at 15,895. These are UK prices. What I would suggest you do is, if you're interested in seeing where you are in the world and how this affects you, go onto harleydavidson.com right now, or after the show, of course, and it'll automatically detect where you are in the world, and it will tell you what bikes are going to be available for you in your market, your country, and also what the prices will be. So I'm just doing this from the UK, so obviously it's a UK perspective. Right. Okay, so the cruisers here, we got the Softail standard, just one color, and that is vivid black. Street Bob is sorry, the Softail standard is at 15,995. There was talk of obviously the Softail standard not being anymore, and also the 107 engine being discontinued, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And I think it's a good shout, actually. I think it's a good idea. I don't see why you would ever want to get rid of that 107 engine, but there you go. That's just me. Street Bob here, 114 engine. Oops, wrong one. What did I do there? Let me just get this back. 1 second. There we go. Hold on. Got problems with my site. There we go. Right, get rid of that. There we go. Right, so the Street Bob 114 is in vivid black, red line red, and this industrial yellow here you can see. And that's starting at 16,695. Sport Glide, we've got the Sport Glide here in the UK. Again, lots of rumors that was going to be discontinued again, but no, it's carrying on, and much to my satisfaction. Again, certain countries the Sport Glide is not there, but I say here in Europe and certain parts of the world it definitely is. So it's a vivid black, it's vivid black deluxe, and also Atlas silver metallic, and starting price at 17,895. So hefty price tag now. Fat Bob with 114 engine, 18,995. I personally think that's overpriced for that Fat Bob. Now we're getting into silly money for cruisers here for the Softails. But there you go, that's just me. Vivid black there, red line red, and grey haze. Lowrider S. This obviously Lowrider S with 117 engine now, vivid black and white sand pearl. I think that they should have added more colors to the Lowrider S myself, but there we go. I think people are being shortchanged here with those two colors. Lowrider ST again, 117 engine, 20,695, and only with the vivid black and the white sand pearl. Fat Boy 114, 22,695 pounds. I mean, that is a huge amount of money. Vivid black, bright billiard blue, and grey haze, silver fortune color combination. Heritage Classic. Look at this price, £29,995. I mean, that is just outrageous. Nice bike. I really, in the last sort of year or so, I've really got into the Heritage Classic as a bike. Spoke wheels have come back on this model as well, but they've got this vivid black with chrome finish. You got Atlas silver metallic with chrome finish. You got a bright billiard blue, billiard grey with chrome finish combination, and then you got vivid black finish. You got prospect gold with black finish. That's quite nice, actually, I suppose. And a bright billiard blue and billiard grey with the black finish. That's nice. That's a nice colour combination. But £30,000 for a Heritage Classic, crikey. Look, here we go. There's no Road King listed here. Now, does that mean that the Road King is no more? Do you know what? I've got a strong feeling that we might see an anniversary model of the Road King here. There's all talk of it being discontinued. Lots of the videos that I made is pretty much borne out what I've said here, with all the color combinations with the bikes that are available here in the UK. In the US, they've got different not color options, they've got different bike options as well in different markets. But Road King Special here, they got vivid black, in bright billiard blue, and industrial yellow. The Road King Special at £24,595. I would say that you compare this Road King Special to the Heritage Classic, which is nearly 30,000, and there you're getting it 24,500. That's a big difference there. Road Glide Special here, starting at 27,795. As with all the bikes, the vivid black is going to be your base color pretty much on most of them, and then you got all the different color combinations. But Road Glide Special 114 engine, vivid black with chrome finish, Baja orange with chrome finish. You got a grey haze chrome finish, bright billiard blue, billiard grey chrome finish, and then you got vivid black finish, Atlas silver metallic black finish, prospect gold with black finish, and bright billiard blue Billiard grey with black finish. I think that last one is a nice combination. I'm not sure about this prospect gold. I know some people really like it. I'm not so sure about that at all. The Road King with the industrial yellow, I'm not so sure about that either, to be honest with you. Street Glide special, 114 engine, 27,795. Vivid black with chrome finish. We've got a Baja orange with chrome finish as well. Grey haze with chrome finish. Then you got bright billiard blue, billiard grey chrome finish, vivid black finish, the Atlas silver metallic black finish, prospect gold with black finish, and also bright billiard blue, billiard grey black finish. I think that's a nice combination there as well. I'm skipping through this because I am encouraging you to go through these at a later stage as well. Road Glide Limited here in the UK, 29,995. Look, the Road Glide Limited, this is a crazy thing. Road Glide Limited is the same price as a Heritage Classic. I mean, really? That is just insane. There we go. So vivid black chrome finish. You've got grey haze, silver fortune with chrome finish, bright billiard blue, billiard grey with chrome. And you got vivid black finish. You got Atlas silver metallic black finish, yeah. And you got bright billiard blue, billiard grey black finish, and the prospect gold vivid black finish. I'm not so sure about the prospect gold. Sorry, Harley Davidson, just not for me. The ultra limited again, 29.95. Vivid black chrome. You got the red line red with chrome. That's a nice color. Grey haze silver fortune with the chrome. Bright billiard blue, billiard grey with chrome. Then you got vivid black on black, grey haze on black, bright billiard blue, billiard grey on black, and that prospect gold and vivid black with a black finish. Yeah, it doesn't look so bad with the black finish, I got to say. Road Glide ST, 29,895 here. That's a 117 engine, of course. Vivid black and white sand pearl, and then the Street Glide ST, 29,895, vivid black and white sand pearl. Interestingly, it does appear that certain models have got a bit of a price hike and others have kind of not as much. And I'll get into this a little bit later on. The adventure bikes, Pan America 1250 and the 1250 Special. The standard, well, the 1250 starting at 17,095. Just coming in vivid black. We've got the 1250 Special, 18,895. And that's a vivid black with cast wheels. We got the grey haze with cast wheels, industrial yellow white sand cast wheels, and then you've got the vivid black with spoke wheels, or lace wheels as they call it, grey haze with lace wheels, spokes, and the industrial yellow white sand pearl. I'm not too sure. It's one of those things on the on the monitor here. I don't think the yellow really pops. It doesn't really pop. So I think it's one of those things you're going to have to wait until you see it in person to see if it pops as a color or not. And interesting, here in the UK, only one trike, the Tri-Glide Ultra, and that's the vivid black, Atlas silver metallic, the grey haze silver fortune, and that's a prospect gold vivid black as well. But look at this price, 38,795. Obviously, there's no mention of the the CVOs. There's no mention of a lot of the other motorcycles that have been missed out, but I don't necessarily think that means that they're not going to be present. It could be that they're just given different options, or they could fall into the anniversary bikes as well. So that's why they've been omitted from this lineup, or this carryover model lineup. And basically, the carryover bikes are essentially 2022 bikes that are now been manufactured for 2023 with no substantial differences apart from, let's say, color options and stuff like that. If I had to be honest with you, I'm very disappointed that the Tourers, especially Grand American Tourers, did not get a 117 option in this. However, it could be that they reveal that on January the 18th as well, that there could be a 117 option. Obviously, they're going to talk about the CVOs, I'm sure. Possibly a couple of other trikes, and then we're looking at Pan America 975 if that comes out. The other Nightster, you got to imagine there's going to be another Nightster here, that Nightster S that they talked about, or that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. So that could be an option. They could be talking about the new the other new smaller CC bikes from around the world as well. So January the 18th is going to be a very interesting thing from Harley Davidson. But here, right now, this is what the bikes are for 2023 from Harley Davidson, and this is for the UK only. As I say, you have to look where you are in the world, and you have to go to your Harley Davidson. So you might see over the next couple of days lots of blog posts or YouTube videos saying, hey, look, this is these are the new bikes. Okay, take that with a grain of salt. Go and do your own research at your harleydavidson.com to find out where you are and which bikes are available. That's all I can say, because it's sometimes very misleading. Well, I don't say it's very purposely misleading. You know, you'll get, let's say, American YouTubers who will only talk about, well, what they know, right? Well, they don't have a global view. They just talk about what they know, and then they're just saying, because they're talking to an American audience, whereas I like to think I'm talking to a global audience, as it were. So I try and cover it from different points of view. Anyway, so here in the UK, as I say, they've I know in the US they've got different models. They've still got the Street Glide, and the Road Glide with a 107 engine. I know that's there's no Road King been mentioned there either. Obviously, no Sport Glide for the US as well. So, you know, there's a few differences. There was lots of talk. I even reported it as well. If I did query it, whether the 107 engine would be discontinued, I thought it was a mistake, and I think it is a mistake if they did that. And it, you know, it still thinks that, well, it still seems that the Softail standard here is the bike of choice with a 107 engine. Yeah, I don't see there's a problem with that. I do see a problem with the price. You're talking nearly £16,000 for you know, a 107 Softail standard bare bones, you know, Harley Davidson. Now, many people would say that's a great buy. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. Where I do think is that there's a bit of a, it does start getting a bit crazy, really. Sport Glide here, 17,895. That's kind of similar to last year. But then you get into the Fat Bob and the Lowrider ST. But then the Heritage Classic is nearly £30,000. I mean, that is, and you know, the Fat Boy 114 is 22,695. You know, that is, the Heritage Classic is more expensive, let's say, than the Road King Special, Road Glide Special, and the Street Glide Special. Okay, yes, those prices are base prices, of course, and obviously if you start adding on extras and you start adding on you know, different paint color schemes, all these extra paint options, you're gonna have to ensure you're gonna have to pay a premium for those as well. But that's a lot of money, guys. I mean, that's a lot of money for these bikes. We know that. You know, we could talk about this all day, can't we? We can talk about this until we're blue in the face. And I suppose this leads into what I was going to be talking about for this year. A lot of the manufacturers are putting a lot of they're placing some big bets here. They're placing some big bets, and especially Harley Davidson with the 120th anniversary, that they want to make it a successful year. And you know, I've been talking for weeks how Harley Davidson are going into new markets, let's say, with these new bikes, these new small CC bikes, whether we're going to see them straight away or a few months' time, that kind of thing. And you wonder with these prices how successful they're going to be. And this is, I suppose, more so than any other year, Harley Davidson, you know, they've come out with these bikes. Fine, these are carryover bikes. We're expecting the new bikes, but they're not cheap bikes. They're not cheap bikes. I did notice that a few other people have been commenting on this recently, what I've been saying for months and months and months, right? I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but a lot of people are starting to say that, not just Harley Davidson, this is not a Harley Davidson thing, this is bikes in general, but in particular Harley Davidson, they're just way, way overpriced. Somebody made a comment in one of the videos either earlier on today or yesterday. I can't remember. I do apologize. They're saying that in Ireland, the prices have gone up about three. I think they said €3,000, and obviously this is not. That's just for that could be local issues there. There could be, local price rises, whatever. But that, we're talking in 1 year substantial price increases, and that's crazy. And I did a video a week or so ago and talked about it in live shows as well. If you want a good deal, yes, okay, you're still going to be paying over the odds for a Harley Davidson, but the deal to be done was this last week just gone. Getting into your dealership and getting a 2022 bike, that's the deal to be done. Or getting a used bike, or getting a bike that's 1 or 2 years old, that somebody hasn't really ridden, but they've put lots and lots of extras on it, and you probably still pay near enough the price of a new bike, or as was, but you'll get so much more for it. And that would be my takeaway from this, is that Harley Davidson in particular, but I've been looking at Indian as well, and I don't think Indian are as expensive. And I've got quite a few videos coming out talking about Triumph, talking about BMW, talking about Indian motorcycles of their 2023 bikes. And I think there's a lot more bikes available from those three manufacturers that are not as expensive to the customer. Okay, BMW do in expensive bikes, and Indian as well, and Triumph as well. Possibly Triumph are the best of the lot in terms of value for money. Now, whether you like that brand or not is a separate issue, of course. But if you talk about value for money, then Triumph seem to be there for me. They seem to be there, and I've got a few videos coming out as well. Of course, they've got all the expensive bikes as well, but they got cheaper options as well, and they got bikes that, well, they're just great bikes. There's no denying it. But a lot of the manufacturers are playing a big hand this year. They have to for survival. They have to do something to keep it going, and keep trying to attract people that may be thinking that they best served spending their money elsewhere. And let's face it, times are tight for a lot of people. Businesses may be failing over the next year. I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, but I try to deal in realities and not deal in what people are trying to sell me. I've got to say this, and this is like of a tangent here. Over the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, I've been approached by quite a few companies to try and show their products on my channel, or talk about them in live shows as well. And I've got to the point now where I'm like this. It's not so much that I don't want to show products, but I don't want to show products that I don't think are interesting, or I don't believe in, certainly not interesting. But two, I'm not just going to do it for free, as it were. It just seems ridiculous that you get companies that will approach you because they want your audience, and they want to say, well, oh, there's this one company that wanted to send me a motorcycle lift, and all of a sudden they wrote back Christmas Eve. This was Christmas Eve at 7:00 on Christmas Eve, asking me to contact them straight away because they want to go through some details of what they want to send me, and also the conditions. And I said, there's only one condition here. I'm not answering anything on Christmas Eve, and I'm not going to talk about it on Christmas Eve. And I think, if you want to send me something for free to look at, fine, you can take it away again. I don't necessarily want to keep it. Fine. But if you want to start charging me, or you want to put conditions, and I've talked about this lots and lots of times before, I don't deal that way. I'll say I only deal in products that I want to deal with, or I have faith in. Or if you want to have your product featured and I don't know anything about it. It's got to be unconditional. I won't have any conditions on it, but it'll also be charging as well, because at some point I get bombarded with lots of requests, you see, and I think, well, there's no point in show these products unless I'm going to get something for it. And I'd always say to you as my audience, let's say, I would say, look, this mug of coffee was sent to me, and I've charged them £1,000 to show you this mug of coffee, and actually I don't really think it's that great, or I would say genuinely, actually, it's a really good buy. If you've watched my channel for a long time, I have done products in the past, and I've talked about the products that I use and things that I buy myself, and I put links on the website for you as well, and I'm going to update that for 2023 as well soon. But I also have also talked about the products that that I will freely promote, because I genuinely believe that they are a great product for you as Harley Davidson riders, as motorcycle riders, whatever. And I've done that, and I've done that completely free of charge. So, this is not a money grab here. This is about just being open, honest, and telling you that I say, this is why I don't really feature a lot of products on my channel anymore, because when it comes down to negotiating with these companies about what they want, all of a sudden they start trying to put restrictions and start saying, we want you to say this, and you say, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say something that isn't true. But I think sometimes some of the companies, they understand that, and they understand that if they want their product shown to different markets, they're going to have to pay for it, and or they're going to have to deliver it unconditionally and free, and let you see what you think about it. And the problem is, you start having products delivered to you, and you fill up your whole house or your whole workshop or whatever full of products that you're never going to use. I've literally just dumped out a load of products yesterday morning, actually. So just emptied out everything, all the little freebies that I've got. Listen, I've just out they go. I've had them for about 3 years. I've never used them, so there we go. Listen, let's just talk about the next thing here. I'm going to talk a little bit about where I'm going for 2023. I really like doing the live shows, and I'll dig into the comments in a minute. I do promise you, but I really like the live shows. I really like talking to you guys. I really like giving you updates face to face, as it were, or in real time. I'm struggling, as I said, to do all the comments on the videos, and I much prefer to think about new ways of producing content, sometimes simple, sometimes a little bit raw, but sometimes a bit more thought put into it as well. But I really like doing the live shows. So this is where I'm going to go for 2023. A lot more live show orientated. A lot more sort of discussion, bring you news, a magazine style program, which I've been doing. Interestingly, I have noted that quite a few others, quite a few other YouTubers in the motorcycle field have tried or are trying to do live shows as well now. There we go. Uh, I'm a trailblazer. I'm a trendsetter. That's what it is. It's funny, actually. I noticed quite a few times over the last few years where I've tried something, I've done something, and then I see others who have done very similar things thereafter or tried it as well. And that's why I've said this in the past, but I very rarely look at other channels in terms of what they're actively doing or what they're actively talking about, because I think you end up taking inspiration or start copying what they're doing. So I try and just come up with my own ideas all the time, as much as I possibly can. But anyway, so a lot more live shows I'm going to be doing, and a lot more just news clip information videos as well. You might have seen them the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Sort of pictures, bit of pictures, music, information, and I've got quite a few coming out for the main 3 rivals, which I see for Harley Davidson of 2023 so far. That's all I've talked about, and that is it's going to be from India, but I think there's going to be a lot of competition from BMW in certain sectors. and Triumph, I think, big news for 2023 as well. I think because they got a good range of bikes and a different price point. Yes, they're expensive bikes. All bikes are expensive, right? Um, but that's where I'm going with the channel. A lot more live shows, a lot more discussions, a lot more Q&As, a lot more direct answering your questions and that kind of thing. Let me dig into the comments here as well, as I'm here, and that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll have hopefully there'll be a lot more to talk about this year and a lot more news. I'm not just going to focus on those 4 manufacturers, by the way, whilst I will be featuring a lot more of the other bikes. I am talking about let me just block that channel. There we go. 1 second. I am just I'm going to be featuring lots of motorcycle news and interesting stories as well. And that's hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. But let's get into this. Cyborg, hello, how are you? Happy New Year. Saddlebag, lame lineup. Yeah, this is not the full lineup from Harley Davidson, of course. So it's interesting. Cyber Leader, hello, good evening. How are you? Massimiliano Di Falco, buonasera a te. And Michael Campbell, hi Alf, good New Year to you and you too, sir. Keep up the good work and have a great 23, and you too, sir, and you too. Nate, hello, how are you? Nice to have you here. So listen, Harley Davidson there, new bikes. Indian, I've got a video coming out. I've got a few videos coming out actually for the 2023 bikes. Now this is bearing in mind what they currently have right now. The same for Triumph and the same for BMW. They've got their 2023 lineup. However, there is, watch your space, there is news. So there's more information to come out for 2023 bikes from those 3 manufacturers as well. BMW, we know we got I've talked about the strong rumors they're going to come out with differences in an R18, and there's also going to be an R12 for that kind of cruiser type motorcycle as well. They got a couple of other models coming out as well. Triumph, they've got some changes coming, I believe, possibly March time. I think it's something like that I've been told. And Indian, they haven't really had much of an update. Now they've got the Pursuit, which has gone into the touring bikes with the Roadmaster as well. Essentially, they've got the Chieftain Street Glide type clone, if you like. They hate me for saying that, but it's very similar to the Street Glide, right? With the fairing. That's a Roadmaster. Now they've got the Challenger version of that, which is called the Pursuit, and that's basically like the Road Glide, right? Very similar. But those prices are they're cheaper. They're cheaper. Let me just have a look here and show you what they are, because this is UK prices. Okay. Oh, sorry, wrong one. I didn't mean to do that. These are UK prices and not and there we go. Oh, wrong one. And not US prices or global prices. So I can't testify to those, right? Cruisers, yeah, the Super Chief here, and Chief Bobber Dark Horse. These are nice bikes, right? The baggers, right? There we go. Right, so let's just have a look at the Challenger Dark Horse. And I forgot what it is. 27,295. So if you look at the 27,295, we look at the Road Glide Special 27,795. Very comparable on price, aren't they? Let's look at the Chieftain, which is Chieftain Dark Horse. I like the Dark Horses, I gotta say. I'm a big 26,095, and that Street Glide Special is 27,795. So they're a cheaper option. Okay, they're the same or slightly cheaper. If we go to the Grand Tourers, let's say, which would be the Touring, which would be the Roadmaster or the Roadmaster Dark S. So let's just say, and then you got the Indian Pursuit. So you got the Chieftain version, which is the very comparable to the Limited, isn't it? Let's have a look here. There you go. No, wrong one. There we go. So you got the Road Glide Limited or the Ultra Limited. That's it. That's it. So the Ultra Limited here is 29,995, and you've got the Roadmaster. Let's just have a look there. Roadmaster 28,295, right? So it's cheaper there. You've got the Road Glide Limited 29,995, and then you've got the Touring here. This is the Pursuit now from Challenger, 28,995. There you go. So look, you've got competition. Now bear this in mind that Indian have been suffering the same as Harley Davidson in terms of, and a lot of other manufacturers, of course, in terms of their supply chains and all that kind of stuff. Look, there was an interesting interview I saw the other day. They were talking about cobalt mining in Africa and basically slave labor. If you remember, during the summer, I talked about slave labor with Harley Davidson and a lot of other manufacturers. I was heavily criticized for what I was saying, and the point I was trying to make, and I did make in that video, is just that a lot of companies may not necessarily know that at the start of their supply chain, there might be slave labor going on. But essentially, this is what's happening. You've got cobalt mining in places like Africa, and lots of these cobalt mining is made to go into, semiconductors and electrical components, which filters into everything, automotive, whatever, engineering, all that kind of stuff, right? So they've had lots of issues with that. So there's lots of problems with the supply chain, and there's lots of ethical problems. But us as consumers, we kind of don't think about it. We don't really know about this sort of stuff. But Indian have had their same problems with this, right? Same dilemmas, same issues with supply. Issues with trying to verify whether the supply is bona fide and it's not breaking any international rules, all that kind of stuff, just as Harley Davidson have done. And that's why they had to shut down a lot of their production for a couple of weeks, because there were some issues along the line, right? But Indian say, they are arguably better engineered. I'm not sure about the styling so much, but better engineered, better performance. But they're still expensive bikes. Don't get me wrong. This is not, I'm saying they're really cheap, but on the face of it, you seem to be getting more for about the same money. You seem to be getting more of a bike for the same money. Now, for me, it comes down to whether you like them as a motorcycle. If you're talking about the Indian Pursuit here, which is basically the Challenger and the Touring package, 28,995. Look, okay, these are base prices, of course, and you know what it's like. As soon as you start adding up, it's going to add up and add up and add up. But you're talking about a bike that is, that is one hell of a machine for, yes, an expensive price. I think you're getting a better deal with the Indian than you are with the Harley Davidson, unless Harley Davidson up their game with the Grand American Tourers, because if you're sticking with a 114 engine, you're sticking with a 114 engine that's got basically air-cooled engines, then you're kind of behind the curve now, and you need to change your ways a little bit. And I think, and this is where Indian are taking the lead. If you talk about BMW with their R18s and their Bagger and also their Tourer, the Transcontinental, let's have a look at the prices there, because I can't remember what the prices are. Let me just show you. BMW Motorrad, here we go. Ta-da. Is this it? There we go. Right, let's have a look. Right. No. Roadster Tour. There we go. Tour. Right. If we look at, I'll just show you here. Right, I'm on the BMW UK site, the K1600, which is the Tourer bagger, right? Here. Let's have a look. Got a bit of problems with the internet here. Right, K1600, £21,000, right? This is what I'm talking about, where I said that they were cheaper. Okay. Let me just get this back here. Where are you? The Tourer 1600 is 24,630. Now this may not be to your liking, but it is a decent bike. Let's get on to the R18s and we'll show what they are there. Heritage, I think they come under, don't they? There we go. You can see now that the Heritage, sorry, the R18s, let me just increase the size here. They got the R18, the commemorative one, which they've leased for 2023, which is the R18 100 years. The R18 Classic, which is the kind of a soft bagger, like a Heritage Classic kind of competitor. Then you got the R18B, which is the bagger, I suppose. Then you got the Transcontinental here. The Transcontinental, look at this one here. Transcontinental. Let's look at the price here. 25,160. We are talking £5,000 less. £5,000 less for that bike compared to the Indian and compared to the Harley Davidson, of course. Let's look at the bagger, right? Hold on, wrong one. So this one here. R18B, which I think is a really nice bike as well. R18B, right? Nice fairing and everything. 22,240. So there is a big difference there. And this is when I talk about competition, okay? I talk about competition, not only in the market which I live in Europe and UK and Europe, but also around the world, United States, whatever. When you got companies like Harley Davidson and Indian who are right at the top there, but then you've got another manufacturer who's producing quality machines here. They are very much quality, and you're coming in at £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 less. Then you've got to ask yourself, what's going on? What's going on? There we go. Let's just get into some of these here. Good, thanks. Nate, yeah, pounds, dollars. Yeah, expensive, I'm afraid. Yeah. Meldel Kel. You're right. Triumph for Indian BMW are arguably better, but they are a bit behind on cult status. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, I would imagine so, definitely. And certainly if you talk about Indian, and well, maybe not so much Indian, because Indian have got a bigger following now, but I'd say with BMW, yeah, okay, Triumph is, you can't really, Triumph don't really have a like for like, but certainly BMW and Indian have a like for like. You know, you can compare the bikes there. But anyway, Harley 100% cult still beats Indian on name recognition, resale value, and used availability. Yes, I would agree with that. The problem with Indian, and I've kind of come across this as well. I went to a dealership, and they're not a proper Indian dealership. They're a multi-brand dealership. And they didn't have any. Well, they had a couple of Indians there, but nothing really there. There's no salesman to talk to. There was nothing, and there isn't the dealership network. Even here in the UK, there aren't that. Well, there are a few, but they're not that many. Certainly not that many for me that were close by. I've got a Harley Davidson's literally 2 miles down the road from where I live, so it's very easy for me. BMW the same, literally a few miles down the road that way. A Triumph down the road. So I've got the 3 other main manufacturers literally within 5-10 minutes of where I live, whereas Indian is probably about an hour away now, something like that. So but if you look at other parts of the United States, that you constantly hear this about Indian motorcycles. They just don't have the dealership network, and whilst they're improving, they just don't have that presence. They don't have that recognition. There we go. Yes, slave labor is going to be a thing, sadly. It is. I mean, if you look into that cobalt mining, especially, but it's not just cobalt mining, it's lots of other things. It's right there, and it's It's interesting when you talk about slave labor and lots of companies, all companies have exploitation and slave labor policies and things like that, and they're in line with they're in line with the national legislation, all that sort of stuff. But it only goes a couple of steps back, you see. Saddleback hit. Hi. Looking forward to the Royal Enfield Super Meteors being delivered. Yes. There's some new bikes coming out for Royal Enfield. I'm a fan of Royal Enfield, always have been. I think they're great bikes. I'm actually getting to be a bigger fan of Indian motorcycles, full stop. But Royal Enfield, I think, are a cracking brand, and I think they deliver on price, definitely, and they're delivering on good workmanship, improving, definitely, great. Bikes from India really stepping up their game. Will take a bit to be recognized in the West. I agree, certainly in numbers, but watch your space, because they're just coming out with bigger and bigger engines, and watch your space for the Chinese bikes as well, because they're doing the same. BMW all over the place. BMW got a good place as well. Here we go. Excuse me. Motorcycle. That's it. You're the person who commented earlier on. Let's just have a look in this. Heritage Classic is now over 38,000 euros in Ireland. It's actually more expensive than the touring line. Now, what the fuck? Street. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. W2F, guys, W2F. Street Bob went up 3,000 euros compared to last year's price. Yes, and this is where I know prices have gone up. Look, you can't get away. Inflation has been crazy, right? For everything, fuel prices and all that sort of stuff. But if you think you're going to help your cause by trying to sell bikes by putting up prices that much, people won't buy them. I cannot see why. If I'm looking, and I was thinking about a new bike for 2023, okay, why would I go to Harley Davidson with that price when I can go to BMW right there and buy a really nice Tourer or a Bagger or something like that? Because I like the style as well, okay, because that's a different thing, right? It depends whether you like the style or not. But you can get a metal version, you say, because lots of people would say, oh, well, like the K1600B is a bit plasticky, and I would agree with that. But the R18s aren't. They're metal, just like Harley Davidsons, and not as as like Indians, but Indians have got a bit more plastic on them, right? Which is not a bad thing from my point of view. I don't necessarily care if a bike has got plastic on it, right? But when you're saving £6,000 or £7,000 on a bike, you can't really argue with that. That's the problem. So if you've got bikes that are, they've just jumped up 3,000. I mean, look, I remember a couple of years ago when the bikes went up about £1,000 or euros or dollars, whatever it was, just from one year to the next. I thought, like, crikey, it's outprices from the market, and now all of a sudden it's taking a massive jump. So I get it. I get this. Going to take my kids to go. Thank you for a great show. Thank you, Nate. Thank you for joining. Here we go. Oh, please don't compare Harley with the price or commercial things. Harley is a symbol of culture and network. Well, it might be, but okay, fine. If you want to live in cloud cuckoo land, if you want to live in the clouds, put your head in the sand and just, of course you've got to compare them with price. What land are you living in where you don't compare things from price, when you don't consider the price? People who don't consider the price are people who have money, that just money to burn. And I said this in a video recently, the Harley Davidson, just more so than any other brand, have been living off that aspirational feeling. They've been trying to sell a dream, trying to sell it, and for that dream or that aspiration, they've been saying, we're just going to keep on charging you more and more and more. Come on, guys, come on. I don't buy that for 1 second. Do you think a Roking standard style would be announced? I've got a feeling, or a Roking standard, by all accounts, has been stricken from the whole lineup. But the thing is, who do you believe? Right? It wasn't showing up in any of the color charts. It wasn't showing up in any of the accessories charts. It wasn't showing up on any of the feeds that I was getting. So lots of people say no, it's not coming back. But then you start to hear rumors saying no, actually, it might be coming in a 120 anniversary. model. So it could be that the Road King standard is kind of skipping a year, as it were. It's sort of coming away just for an 120th anniversary. I mean, who knows? It's interesting. Scoot, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. Hope you're well. Cheers. Cheers, Corban. Thank you. If I bought an Indian, I would have to explain why I bought it everywhere I go. Despite being inferior, Harleys don't have that problem. That's true. That's true. It depends where you are in the world as well, I suppose. And how, yeah, I mean, Harley Davidson, there's no, in certain markets are immediately recognizable, whereas other brands aren't. As simple as that. If you go to the United States, for example, which is very much, 50% of the bikes sold are, Harley Davidsons as well. And then you've got some areas that just don't have Indian dealerships and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but you got places all around UK and everything like that. The people who are not in the know, let's say, who are not motorcycle savvy, they won't know what one is. Yeah, they won't know what one is. Happy New Year to you, Coban. Happy New Year to you. Thank you. So listen, I think, I talked about this in a previous video where I think Harley Davidson are going to have some rivals this year, and this is where I see it. It's not necessarily that I think that the other brands are better bikes, because I am a Harley Davidson fan, but I'm also an Indian fan, a BMW, KTM fan, a Honda fan. I'm a fan of bikes. I always say that, right? But where I think that this year, more than anything, especially when a lot of the brands are trying to make the big, the big hand, let's say, they're trying to, put all they're trying to put everything on black, as it were. They're really going to try and go for it, especially Harley Davidson now with the news that's coming out from them. I just think they might be pricing themselves out of the market, and I do take exception to not exception, Tefan, who put this there. Because you don't compare Harley Davidson price. Well, you've got to say, any logical person who doesn't worry about the cost of things or how much they're going to cost, no matter how much I want a Harley Davidson, sort of Tourer, I'm not going to pay £30,000 for a Tourer. I might buy a used one. Okay, I might buy a used one, there's no doubt. I might buy one that's a few years old that you could get, for that, because everybody wants a used bike. But the problem with what happens here, because somebody made a comment about this a few weeks ago, that and a few videos have been doing this recently, which I don't agree with, right? I just don't see the logic here. What they're saying is that Harley Davidson don't have entry-level bikes, because what they do, they encourage people to buy used bikes, and used bikes hold their value more because people can't afford the new bikes, so they go and get used bikes. The problem with that model is that Harley Davidson as a company don't get the money. They don't sell bikes. What they do is they do get people that are into the brand, and hopefully they're betting on people will have that used bike for a year or two, then they can get onto the brand new bike. But they're not selling any more new bikes. So in the meantime, the Harley Davidson, one, could be outpricing themselves in the market, but also they could be relying on people just to stay with the brand in some capacity, and maybe get their money off parts and accessories. And well, they're not even selling that many t-shirts anymore, do you know what I mean? But it's that kind of thing. They're not really concerned about selling the bikes, because they know that there's such a huge customer base out there who've already got Harley Davidson, so they're going to keep on wanting to sell them parts and accessories, which is fine from a business model, because that's what keeps it ticking over. Crikey, if Harley Davidson had to rely, or any motorcycle manufacturer had to rely on motorcycle sales alone, I think they'd be in serious trouble, all of them, but that's BMW, that's Triumph, whatever. You can only sell so many bikes, but you can sell an endless supply of parts and accessories, can't you? And especially parts that go wrong, right? Because they're machines. Of course they're going to go wrong from time to time. Of course you're going to have to replace parts from time to time. Hopefully not for the first few years, but inevitably you will. So maybe that's what Harley Davidson are thinking. But to say that they don't have to have entry level bikes, because guess what? They've got these, used bikes. Well, unfortunately, that's bad for everybody, because used bike market just goes up and up and up. People can't afford the new bikes. And mark my words, the used bikes of 2023 will just get more and more expensive. So just be careful what you're buying out there. It might be a case, instead of buying a 2018, 2019 bike, you go a little bit older still. You go a 2015, 2016 bike, and something like that, and you might get a better deal. I'm certainly not suggesting that anybody does not buy a brand new bike. I'm saying if you can afford it, go for it. And I think, you'd be happy that you did. And I wish you all the best. I wish you all the success. And I wish you all the joy and happiness that I had when I bought my bike brand new. But what I'm saying to you is now that there's going to be fewer and fewer people who are going to have the disposable income, want to buy out cash. Cash is going to be your best bargaining tool right now for 2023, and not necessarily handing over cash, but just buying it outright. Because if you go on a finance deal, it's going to cost you a lot more money. It's going to cost you more money now, because things are going more and more expensive. Here we go. Let's get into more comments here. If I bought an Indian, I would have to. Oh, sorry, I've already read that one. Here we go. Trying to get a new passport online, bloody nightmare. Oh, crikey, yes. Yeah, I remember trying to do that. That was a while ago. Kevin, hello. Happy New Year to you, sir. How are you? How's that Road King special? See, I remember people who ride their bikes. You've got another bike as well, and I can't remember what it is. I want to say a Triumph, but I want to say a Kawasaki as well. I can't remember what that is, what your second bike is. See, I'm like a bit of a troll, aren't I? I don't know what it is. Some people's bikes, they just you're always trying to convince me to buy a Road King Special, and I'm always there with you. I'm always thinking it's a great bike as well. There we go. If a HN dealer sells a used bike, HD is likely getting the finance extended warranty service plans. Yes, exactly. They're benefiting from parts, accessories, services, but they're not benefiting from the bike sale itself. That's exactly my point. Yes, that's right. That's right. So look, it's I think that all the motorcycle manufacturers are going to come under, not just motorcycle manufacturers, all automotive manufacturers are going to come under increasing pressure this year. I think they've got to make a big play. They've got to try and not only deal with the increase in prices or the reducing disposable income all around the world, but they've also got to deal with the continuing problems with supply chains. And also issues that are going to be all over the world. Let's not forget that, war in Ukraine and Russia, and God knows what's going to happen there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that doesn't escalate even further beyond Ukraine. But I don't want to get into politics on that, but that's a scary situation, isn't it? But we don't know what else is going to happen around the world as well. We just don't know. And it'd be nice to think that okay, all we have to think about is we got a job. Look, we've all got to worry about our jobs. So we've got to worry about our families and providing for that. But you've got to take a sensible route here and say, right, okay, I really want a bike. I love bikes. This is my passion. This is what I want to use as a daily transport, right? And I think, right, okay, great. So you either go and buy an old wrecker like this and try and build it up. I will have that bike finished at some point. It might take me 10 years, but it will. I've got my other bike there, the 125, that fun bike. I took photos of it the other day because I seriously thought, do you know what? Let me just sell it because I'm not riding it, and it's just taking room up in the workshop. So I've got all this. I've got all these bikes dotted around. I've got the Harley, which is my daily ride, of course. But I think, do you know what? I'd love to have a new bike. Of course I would. I aspire to get an Indian or a Harley or a BMW. I really like these R18s. I like that K1600B. I like the 1250 RT. I think out of all the tours that I've ridden, that 1250 RT is just an amazing bike. Absolutely amazing bike. Kevin, here we go. Oh. XR 1200 lot. I don't know where I got the other bikes from then, but there we go. But look, it's but you can only buy what you can buy. And you can only, you've got to prioritize where you want to put this. And I want to, of course, I want to, as I say, I want to get a new bike. I want to, every 2 or 3 years, I'd love to change or do something different. But, you got to be sensible about it. Unless, some, sugar mummy came over and said, I'm just going to buy you something, or, you win the lottery or something. Look, we live in a world where you've just got to do your calculations, haven't you? I'm not sure if the likes of Harley Davidson, with their pricing strategy, whether they fully grasp this. I'm not sure. Because if I take the likes of Honda, now lots of people don't like me talking about Honda, or don't like me talking about the Japanese motorcycle manufacturers, or the Indian motorcycle manufacturers, or the Chinese ones. They don't like me talking about it, but I will continue talking about it, because there's a point to be made here. And the point is, it's value for money. And let's just take the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in the world as a global presence. That's Honda, right? Okay, they don't make their money off their big bikes, off their big, the Goldwing. They don't make their money on that. They don't make their money on the 1000cc sports bikes. They don't make their money on it. They make their money off the small bikes. That's what they do. That's how they do it. I just sort of read an article here, and I'll show you here this, because this is an interesting one, right? I read an article here. Where was it? This one? No, not this one. Here we go. Let me just expand. This is from why am I looking at a Vietnam motorcycle magazine here, or business magazine? But they're talking, right, Vietnam produced 3.3 million motorbikes in a year. They were talking about how the prices have gone up, or how they've increased their growth by nearly 10%, and all that sort of stuff. But they're building 3.3 million motorcycles in 1 year. Now, if you know anything about Vietnam, which I don't, but I know a little, okay, Vietnam, just like many of those countries around there, they're all very small cc bikes. They're scooters. That's it. That's pretty much what they do, right? So that's what they build. But you still got a whole market, a whole economy that's riding around on small bikes, and they're building 3.3. Their own manufacturers are building 3.3 million. Can you say that about any other Western manufacturer? No, of course you can't. Have they got a dominance within their own country that is unrivaled? No, because it is a motorcycle market in Vietnam, for example. So you've got other companies, other companies, let's say, other countries that are producing millions of, in this case, millions of bikes, right? And they're producing them at such a low cost point. So you've got the likes of the Indian manufacturers, Royal Enfield, producing quality bikes. Yeah, a little bit more expensive, but quality bikes, but a very cheap price. You've got Hero. Obviously, I talked about Hero and Harley Davidson. Somebody asked me, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, earlier on, and I've talked about Harley and the Chinese QJ motor coming out. They're saying that it's going to come out in November in India, but it could be sooner than that around the world. But that Harley Davidson have also entered a collaboration with the Indian motorcycle manufacturer Hero, and I've talked about this before. And they're talking about having a motorcycle come out in November 2023, and also in December and into January and February 2024. And they're talking about 8 motorcycle models, and they're all going to be small displacement, cheap motorcycles, right? But all these other countries are producing small motorcycles, cheaper motorcycles. But now the likes of China especially, but India as well, are starting producing bikes with a greater cc. So some of them are getting 650s, 700s, and then especially China into the 1000cc. But those bikes are coming in a lot cheaper. There's a video coming out that I've got coming out soon, talking about Harley Davidson clones. Watch that, because you'll be interested to see what the bikes that have been copied, let's say, by the Chinese manufacturers, but what they're coming in on price. They're coming in on such cheap money. So if you are not a if you like the cruiser style or that kind of old Sportster style, but you just don't have the money for it, but that's the kind of bike that you want. You're either going to go for something from India or you're going to go for something from China. And guess what? They're producing bikes for them for the European market now, or they will be for 2023. They're going to be shipping them over. And guess what? They're going to get sales. They're going to get sales. You know, there are bikes out there. You go to the trade shows in the UK, and you look at and I've been saying this for the last couple of years. You know, the European design houses, which are basically Chinese motorcycles, and all the Chinese motorcycles that are coming directly over, or the Indian ones, they look good. They're looking decent bikes. They look decent bikes. A lot of mid-range adventure bikes, but decent bikes, roadsters. They look good, they go good, and guess what? They're really cheap. So where does this leave Harley Davidson, especially? And I suppose to a certain degree Indian, because they're in that same mold. But they do have the FTRs, which are got a bit more street cred with the younger crowd and a little bit cheaper, I suppose. You know, you're talking about 12,000, but still, you know, they're still not at the cheap end of the market, are they? So where does that leave them? Where does that leave BMW? Where does that leave Triumph? I think they're going to be struggling. You know, if they don't jump now, bear this in mind. BMW. I'm not 100% sure about Triumph. I'm sure they have, but I could be wrong. But certainly BMW, certainly KTM, they've gone into partnerships already with Indian motorcycle manufacturers to produce small cc bikes, 350s, 400 cc's. So they've already done it. So they've already seen the benefit of doing that. Harley Davidson, it seems as if they've done, and maybe Harley Davidson, they've finally woken up to think, right, actually, we've got to get into this market, this global market that is going to fuel the company. You as a traditionalist, you as a Harley Davidson fan or an Indian fan or a BMW, whatever, you don't have to like these 350 cc's, 500 cc's. You don't have to buy them. It doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter, right? Who cares? Who cares if your favorite company is producing a small CC bike? It doesn't matter. But what does matter, if it enables that business to stay in business so that they can keep on producing the bikes that you really do love. And guess what? They're going to charge you a king's ransom for it as well. It's, you know, that's just the way it is. They're going to charge you a king's ransom. They're going to let me just check the messages here. They're going to make sure that you're going to be not owing to them, but they're going to try and sell you a dream. They're going to try and sell you the lifestyle. They're going to try and sell you the aspiration of wanting to be with Harley Davidson or Indian, or whatever. I mean, interesting enough, from Indian, I've just got onto their media site today, and I've got to say, hats off to Indian. They've got some nice media. All I would say from Indian, they need to produce more video content for us to share with you guys as well. From there, Harley Davidson do it, but they don't do enough. They sell lots of pictures. Not sell, but they produce lots of pictures. But there's more that they can do. BMW a little bit, Triumph are not too bad as well. They've done some quite well. And these are the 4 brands that I'm really going to be bringing news to you this year, especially in the other separate videos. The live shows, I'm still going to be talking about lots of different things and lots of news items, which I think are just really interesting from around the world. Now, I've totally dismissed in this live show the electric bikes, not because I'm dismissive of them at all. I just think there's lots of motorcycles coming out this year already. Kawasaki, Honda. I think there's bikes from Suzuki and Yamaha with electric bikes, bigger than the scooters, right? That's got to say, because they all produce electric scooters, but bigger than that. We've got other manufacturers, like, say, I think Triumph are coming online. We've got a KTM, Husqvarna for 2023. There's so many manufacturers up in my head right now that have got electric bikes. Sorry, the mainstay motorcycle manufacturers who are not only coming out with electric bicycles, mountain bikes, which they've been doing for the last couple of years, but they're also coming out with electric motorcycles now, right? This is for 2023. So, so so there's going to be a new wave of bikes coming through, a new wave of electric bikes from the main manufacturers, and this was always going to be the problem for the smaller electric motorcycle manufacturers. Let's say some of the biggest ones, let's say like Zero, they're the ones going to have the toughest competition now from the likes of Honda and places like that, because they're going to swamp the market. They're going to just outbeat them, and this is where obviously the likes of Harley Davidson with their Livewire, the Livewire company, really have to be careful here. Now, Scoot, I'm going to put your comment on because this is exactly what I was referring to here. I was just about to refer to, right? Thank you. Infrastructure is not there for electric bikes. Right. Here's an interesting one. Let me just show you here. Let me just, wrong one. Let me just show you the, where was it? Here we go. Right. This is from Visor Down here. Now, this is, for me, it's not news. Okay, it's not news, I should say. Hold on. Do that. There we go. No, wrong one. There we go. It's not news because I've talked about this, and many people have talked about this for a long time in terms of the electrification of vehicles, and also how we're going to charge them. It's okay if you live in a house and you've got a driveway and you've got your own garage and everything, but not everybody lives in a house with a drive and a garage, and not everybody, you live in flats. They live in maisonettes or blocks of flats, let's say. They live in terraced houses. So where are you going to charge them? And this is an article here from Visor Down. They're basically talking about the UK's electric vehicle charging infrastructure is bad news for bikers. Yeah, because the infrastructure isn't there. There isn't instructed over there. Here we go. The fragility of UK's electric vehicle charging infrastructure was highlighted over Christmas period. Let's have a look. Due to concerns over waiting times to access public charging stations, demands for an increase in. Okay, so there's not enough of them, and there's people were wanting to charge in too much. Basically, the intensification of demands for an increase in the number of charging stations were forced to wait as long as 3 hours over the festive period to access a charging point. And that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Specifically, the concern is over rapid and ultra-rapid charging points. The RSC says there are only 6,712 of these charging in the UK, but over 420,000 electric vehicles. Basically, you need a lot more charging points, right? Now, these are public ones. We're not even talking about domestic ones. So you might be forced in the future now to buy an electric vehicle, but you can't charge it at home because your home, you can't park your vehicle right next to your home, let's say. So you're going to be forced to go to a charging point. And now, obviously, the technology moves on. These, the charges are going to come up and more. There was another story this week where there's a new battery, and watch out for these stories as well, and I'll try and bring them to you as often as I can. But there's a new battery being put in a one particular bike that can charge to 80% in 10 minutes or something like that. So now we're talking about batteries that could not only be charged really quickly, but they can give you a lot longer range as well. But the problem still exists. If you've got electric vehicles that cannot be charged because there's not enough infrastructure there, then you've got an inherent problem. You've also got a problem where if the network itself or the system itself isn't able to cope with all the electric charging, then you've got a problem. I think it was in the United States, was it in Texas? A couple of years ago, they had a huge electrical problem, virtually blackout for a while. They're also in California, I think it was, over the winter period. They've asked people not to charge their electric vehicles as often as they can because they just the system, the network, as it were, can't handle it. So you got 2023 and more so in the next few years, 2023, more and more bikes coming out with these more and more electric bikes on the market, more pressure to buy an electric bike, more pressure to where the prices come down. More of the big manufacturers going to be producing electric bikes. Possibly those existing electric bike manufacturers going out of business, right? Or being swamped up. I wouldn't be surprised if those small electric motorcycle manufacturers are bought up by the bigger manufacturers, right? Or you know, they raid some of the headhunt a lot of the people who work there and bring them over into them, right? But you've got to the one thing that they need is the infrastructure. In whichever company, in whichever country you're at, you need the infrastructure because otherwise these things are never going to be usable. So we know the problem with the electric bike market or the electric vehicle market is that it's evolving so quickly that as soon as you get one, it's pretty much out of date. So you've got to look at these as a lease option or something that you're just gonna look into for the next couple of years or something like that. But interesting. Now, there's another story as well, and I haven't got it up here, so I do apologize. But there's another story, and again, I talked about this from months and months and months ago. So, it's interesting. They were talking about the electric motorcycles for 2023 and into 2024, and they're saying actually, is that the answer now? Because they got motorcycle engines and they want them to say we'll just run them off green fuels, we'll just run them off biofuels, we'll just run them in different fuels or hybrid engines as well, for motorcycles, that kind of thing. So there are other options and they're probably looking at other options, and it's probably going to be a realistic option for a lot of people to look at, or they're going to look at, say, right, okay, you've got this existing motorcycle, you can actually start putting green fuel in it, and you maybe have to put an additive in it so you can still keep the bike that you've got, whatever. Or from now on, you don't have to buy an electric bike if you don't want to. You can buy a petrol bike, but it'll be running, or sorry, an internal combustion engine bike, but it'll be running off biofuels or something. Remember last year I talked about the Dakar Rally, or a couple of years ago, there was a couple of teams that are running off pure biofuels as well, green fuels, and all their engineering was based around that. And they were basically testing to see how it was, and obviously that is filtering out into the market, the manufacturers. They're going to be producing these kinds of vehicles as competition against the electric bikes as well, because there's definitely fuel. I mean, here on the other hand, it says here on the article here as well, there is a separate article about this, or lots of articles here. On the other hand, with the growth of electric motorcycle sales and the industry's push towards battery electrics, although alternatives such as synthetic or fuel cell electrics, of course, remain possible, the negative impact this lack of charging infrastructure can have on UK motorcyclists, the future is also quite clear to see. I mean, they're still going on about that, but say, once you've got greater competition from the different types of fuel or different types of engine, then you probably see that the market won't be so skewed. But say definitely for this year, 2023, but I'll probably say 2024, when more and more the main manufacturers start producing a greater range of electric bikes, you're going to see the prices come down of those. The prices, hopefully, fuel will stabilize, and also energy production will stabilize. But let's say, but they're probably looking at, you're probably going to have with some bright spark who's going to say, right, we can achieve full charge on just a very small solar panel, and it's going to do it quite quickly, so everybody can have cheap recharging from home or for wherever they are, and it'll be easy to do. That's where the market possibly should go. Whether it will not, or I don't know, but the existing electric bike manufacturers, they have to be concerned, in my opinion, that the main manufacturers are going to come online with cheap electric motorcycles, and not only the main manufacturers, but mainly from China They're definitely coming out with lots of electric motorcycles now, and they're going to be coming into the European market and possibly into the US market or wherever, but India as well, but definitely China. Watch out for those. Kevin, here we go. Hoping this time around, on the 18th, the Bronx will be announced. Think that they would sell really well in the UK. Yeah, a lot. Interesting, isn't it? Why they haven't brought that out? For me, they should have done. I agree with you. I think, originally that was always with a 975 engine, but I think, if they put the 1250 in that, and maybe even change the styling a little bit, maybe put a little of a nose fairing on it or something like that, made it into a bit of I don't know, a bit of a nod to like a 60s kind of road racer type thing. I think that would look really good. I really do. Whether it will come out, I don't know. There is talk about more Revolution Max engine bikes coming out for Harley Davidson. Definitely, I've been saying that for a while. All the cues that I've been talking about saying, or I've been getting, all the feeds I've been getting saying that yes, more more Revolution Max bikes are definitely coming. Where we don't know. Whether it's definitely going to be another Nightster. This Nightster S variant. It's interesting that there's no Nightster in the carryover model. So what does that mean? That the Nightster itself is discontinued only after 1 year? I can't really see that. But they're bringing out a Nightster S instead. Yeah. Would they bring out a Bronx? Would they bring? I think maybe that original Bronx may they have to tweak it, I think, for it to be a success. I think if they tweak it in terms of styling and maybe in the engine that they put in it, I think it's a goer. There was talk of a custom style Revolution Max engine as well. Another one, not totally different from the Sports Rest, more like a cruiser type Revolution Max. There's always talk about the Tourer Revolution Max engine as well. And look, those bikes would compete with the likes of Indian, with the likes of BMW and Triumph as well. They would be good, And again, we talk about this. We talk about the traditionalists of Harley Davidson traditional fans. They wouldn't like them, but they don't have to like them. They don't have to like them because they're probably not aimed for those. You can still buy your M8 engine Harley Davidson. Hell, people don't even like the M8 engines. They only like the twin cams or the Evos or shovel heads or whatever it is, right? You don't have to like the newest bikes because maybe the newest bikes aren't for you anyway. Just going, but they'll probably be for the other motorcycle fans from other brands or the next generation. That's what you got to look at, haven't you? But anyway, look, 2023, I think, is going to be an interesting year. Lots of manufacturers are possibly going to struggle, but they're trying to find new ways of doing things and coming out with new bikes to break into different markets or try and just generate more and more sales or more attention for their brand. I think this is what Harley Davidson doing. They're going to look at new bikes that's going to attract more people to the brand and keep fueling this machine that is. But it's not Harley Davidson alone that are doing it. I'm sure all manufacturers are doing it. I've got 2023 bikes out for Indian coming out soon. Videos this is all for Triumph and also for BMW. But watch your space on those three in particular because there is going to be news coming out on that. That's all I'm going to say. But BMW, I'll tell you right now, strong talk, even stronger talk now of a smaller cruiser type bike, R12, definitely R12. But there we go. Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, retro riders will buy into the Bronx is if you if, as you say, styling was tweaked. That's a big market here. I agree. I agree. I've got to look because it's not all about speed. It's not all about power. You don't have to have the fastest bike on the block. Some people, that's all it is. It's all about speed, right? And I used to be from that mold as well, but it's not all about speed. It's just about having a well-balanced bike, isn't it? And well-balanced bike that goes fast enough, and if it's comfortable and you like the look of it and all that sort of stuff. Hell, if speed was all about, then all you'd ever buy was the most expensive bikes. So why do people buy all sorts of different type of bikes? Well, they buy it because of the amount of money that they can afford, and also the style, and also the kind of riding that they want to do. And I think this Bronx, whatever, different styled retro kind of bike, with a modern bike with a bit of a retro feel and some styling cues, I think would be a winner. I really do. In the UK, in Europe, definitely. I'm not so sure in the United States or Canada. Possibly, possibly. I'm not so sure over there, but certainly in Europe. But then again, look, I think I've sort of talked or sort of talked about this in terms of companies like Harley Davidson or BMW or Triumph or whatever. If you just look at these companies, they are not national companies anymore. They are companies that are operating at a global level. And when you operate at a global level, there is one word that you always pay attention to, and that word is demographics, right? You look at demographics and you look at where your market is, and you look at which countries you want to sell in, what the demographics are, what the potential is there, how much money do people have, what does everybody else ride, what is the riding culture, what is the riding pastime, that kind of thing. If let's say if Triumph tried to go to Vietnam, for example, right, and they tried to sell their Tiger 1200, they wouldn't sell any because nobody buys that bike. All they buy is little 125 scooters or whatever it is, 50c mopeds. They all buy really small bikes. you know uh if this is why Harley Davidson failed so much in India, because they were producing bikes that were just way overpriced of what people could ever afford. There's no way that, they're always going to sell a few, but not in numbers. That's why they had to pull out, right? So it's always about demographics. It's always about your market, and these companies now are operating on a global level. So when the likes of Harley Davidson or Triumph or whatever, they look at their domestic market, it is different to when they're looking at other markets. Now, Harley Davidson in particular are like this. Their biggest market is the United States and Canada, right? Especially in the United States. So many people might be thinking that's all they think about, right? And I would bet my bottom pound, dollar, or shekel that they don't. They definitely think about the global market, but for them, their domestic market is the biggest one. Whereas other motorcycle manufacturers, I dare say, would have more of an even keel of a global view. Let's say like the Triumphs and BMWs, KTMs, let's say. Certainly the likes of Honda or Kawasaki or Suzuki of Yamaha, they have much more of a global feel to their or global way of thinking as well. And that's why they've been so successful as well. But there we go. To not sell a classic retro style bike in Europe, just think they're missing a trick. Yeah, Z900, yeah, Bonnie Interceptor, it goes on and on. It's their blind spot. I agree. I agree. I agree completely. Yeah, I think there's definitely a market for it, and these are the kinds of bikes that people have getting more and more interested over the last couple of years. And yeah, absolutely right. This is exactly where there's a lot of market, especially if you're talking about bikes that people just want to have pleasure on. They don't necessarily want to use these bikes as, okay, look, I will say this, from somebody who loves bikes, loves riding on a daily basis and all that nonsense, right? Okay. How many people go on a grand tour? How many people go on a tour and they watch a YouTube video or something like that, and somebody's riding around the world and they said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do that." No, most people don't do that. Most people they got financial pressures, home pressures, work pressures. They can't do it, right? So, you watch these videos, whatever. Oh, wow, I could do that. Oh, I'm going to buy this bike and, go on a grand tour. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because most people never do. Most people are buying any kind of bike for either fun or for a commuting style practicality, if you like, right? So you either have, boxes or saddlebags, or you might even buy a tourer, but it's more of a practical commuter bike or longer distance commuter bike rather than a touring bike, right? That's what you're buying it for. Certainly here in Europe, okay? In the United States, you've got longer distances to travel, so you might buy that bike, that tourer bike, just to travel the longer distances, but you're not using it as a tour. You're just using it as a longer distance bike mode of transport for a day ride. You might ride 200 or 300 miles one way, go and see some friends, and ride another 200 or 300 miles another way. In the UK, in Europe, we're less likely to do those kind of mileages, but you might use it in the commuter sense, right? In the practicality sense. But most people are not buying those kinds of bikes. What they're doing, they're buying either bikes just for fun, for leisure, or for short commuting. So it's got to be, and obviously, yeah, the adventure bikes, but people are buying adventure bikes not to go adventure riding. They're buying them for the style of them. And I proved this so many times when I went out with the Triumph and the Explorer a few years ago, and I was doing proper adventure riding, right? And taking that bike beyond what it should be doing. But most people don't do that. So most people are looking for fun. They're looking for just a leisure bike. So these retro bikes, classic bikes, that's why they're so popular. They're so, and that's why, a lot of interest is going over towards Royal Enfield, what they can bring over in 2023. Watch out for Royal Enfield. I keep on saying this. Watch out for Royal Enfield. They're going to make big strides in 2023 with their new bikes that they're coming out as well. I really should do some more. I'll probably do another live stream purely more focus on Royal Enfield as well. But they've got a lot. But, if the likes of Harley Davidson, they come out with the Bronx and they, style it correctly, or it doesn't have to be the Bronx. It could be another Revolution Max engine, right? And I've said this as well in the past. If they had a Revolution Max engine that's more like a cafe racer style, that had a little nose fairing, there have been some custom bikes that have been produced. There have been some mock-ups as well. They look absolutely brilliant. They look so good. And you think, do you know what? The engine has got a bit of performance on it. Either put a 975 or a 1250, maybe even look at increasing that engine, that CC size, or maybe a different tune. All of a sudden, you've got a bike that's ready for the street. And guess what? People are going to really like that. They think, wow, I don't need ultimate speed. I just want a really fun bike. That's really cool. And do you know what? I would be really interested in something like that myself. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the Bronx, but I think another Revolution Max engine that fulfills that kind of that gap in the market. But that gap in the market is where a lot of people are looking for right now. Anyway, listen, that is 2023. This is what we got to look forward to. Watch out for all the news coming out. I'll try and produce as many videos as I can. But as I say, I am going to be focusing more and more on just having these live shows with you guys and just answering a few Q&As. If you want to send me emails with any questions or anything you want to talk about or anything you want to have featured in a live show, please send me the emails and I will I'll try and incorporate them in a live show as well. Or if you want me to cover a particular brand or a particular bike, whatever, I'll certainly try and do that as well, because I want to try and build the live show up more and more. The radio podcast thing, as it says right there. Look, radio podcast thing. This is what it is. I'm not sure what the show is, but it's a radio podcast thing. But look, 2023, there's going to be an interesting, but obviously big news. We're all waiting for Harley Davidson, what they're going to officially announce. But there's going to be more news from the other manufacturers as well, on what they're going to come out. There's going to be lots of news stories, but the biggest thing will be the how these companies, how they navigate the waters, the different financial pressures, the market, the economic factors, the socio-economic factors, all the pressures on the globe, as it were, the population, and how they're going to be affected and what they're going to do to try and survive, I would say. But certainly the likes of Harley Davidson, with those prices on some of those bikes, I'm not saying they've got a cheek. What I'm saying is I think they've been a bit blinkered here into what people can actually afford, and I'm not sure where in some markets I think they may be looking at people who just won't buy their bikes. They won't buy their bikes. Um, if you look, you heard it directly from Motorcycle Addict there. In Ireland, it's just jumped up €3,000 for a street bob, and that's you know that's just a lot of money just in 1 year to jump up. That's a lot. I know prices have gone up, I know inflation and all that sort of stuff, but you've got to be looking at still trying to attract people. And if people are struggling anyway, or also let's say they're concerned about prices, then putting another 3,000 on a bike is just not right. If you look at the Heritage Classic here, and that's more expensive than the Tourers, and then you've got the Tourers that are a little bit more expensive than your competition, or in some cases a lot more expensive than your competition that are producing equally as good bikes, then you got to look at yourself a little bit. Anyway, watch your space. Let's see what happens, eh? Listen, I hope the video has come through okay. I hope the audio has come through okay. But I say, listen, this is the first show of the year. They won't be regular time slots. I just can't do it in terms of my home life and work life. But I'll try and do it as often as I can. Listen, I will try and take elements for these live shows, and I will try and make other videos as well. And any news that comes up in the meantime, I'll try and make little videos as well for you. I am committed to doing the best I can for you, and just bringing out stories and new stuff as well. I think this is where I really enjoy doing this kind of content and doing these live shows as well for you. But anyway, listen, over to you guys, and all I can say, it's been emotional, as is always the case. And in the next show, I'm sure I'll talk about other more new stuff that comes out. I'll see what the news of the day, but it'll be more electric bikes, I'm sure. But it's always going to be about Harley Davidson, Indian, Triumph, BMW, KTM, all these other bikes. I will talk about electric, but it's going to be more about products and technology as well. But it's always going to be about bikes, really. We know that. And yeah, and if anything, the biking scene that comes up, I don't talk about all that other stuff. I know lots of people talk about motorcycle clubs and whatever. It's just not me. I don't. It's not something that I'm involved in, but it's also not necessarily I'm necessarily interested in either. So there we go. So that's why. But definitely from the biking scene or whatever, I like rallies and all that sort of stuff. It's just that I'm not into certain elements of it and never have been. Mid-50s now. I don't see any reason to start now, but there we go. But motorcycles through and through, that's what I like, and hopefully you like that stuff as well, and hopefully you like all the news stuff and the information stuff. And I kind of geek out on this stuff. There's no denying it. And I kind of like that, and hopefully you like the chat as well. But please send us any emails if you want to, any ideas for shows or any you want to include anything. Let us know what you're up to, and as soon as I have more information from any of the manufacturers, any big news, I'll try and bring it through you. But I'll come out with a new live show coming very soon. But all I can say for now is it's been emotional, and I'll catch you again. Ta-da.